Condolences continue to pour in after the death of religious and human rights leader Paddy Kearney. Kearney died on Friday afternoon at the Gateway Hospital after he succumbed to a heart attack. He was 76. Kearney was one of Durban's most well-known religious and human rights leaders at the time of his death. Well, born in 1942 in Pietermaritzburg, Kearney dedicated his life to fighting injustices of apartheid and a champion for the poor. He went to the St. Charles Marist College MB for some years and then was a brother in the Marist Order. Kearney was chair and founder of the Dennis Hurley Centre and the founding director of Diaconia Council of Churches. He was chair of the Gandhi Development Trust and advisor to KZN Christian Council. He worked closely alongside Archbishop Dennis Hurley. Kearney was awarded a special medal by Pope Francis, recognizing his services to the Catholic Church over several decades. He also promoted the idea of a just society serving the poorest and most marginalized citizens. Well, for more on this, we are now joined by Raymond Perrier, who is the director of the Dennis Hurley Centre. A very good afternoon to you. We thank you very much for your time. Essentially, Raymond, how is the mood after hearing about sad news of the passing of Father Paddy Kearney?
Mr. Paddy Kearney, he wasn't a priest. As you can imagine, we are absolutely devastated. It was such a shock. Paddy, although 76, hadn't shown any kind of sign of physical decline. And in fact, on Wednesday evening, he hosted a big book launch. His third book about Dennis Hurley was being launched in Johannesburg. He spoke, I'm told, very animatedly. He was surrounded by lots of old friends. The evening went on very, very long, and he was enjoying it all immensely. So we were so surprised when he came back to Durban. We heard that he was feeling a little unwell, and then the next news we got yesterday afternoon is that he had a heart attack and passed away.
Now, you've described his passing as a loss to the Durban religious community.
Not just to the religious community, to the wider Durban community. I've been very struck today at the range of people who are sending in messages of condolences. Obviously, people from within our own Catholic community, people from other Christian traditions and other faith traditions, but also politicians, civic leaders. And I have to say, some of the very ordinary homeless people who come here to the Dennis Hurley Centre and who knew Paddy and knew that he was the force that made sure that the centre happened.
Yeah, describe the man that he was. You know, even in some of his last moments, describing in some of the reports here, saying that he still wanted to phone in to the engagements that he had to cancel, even though he was sick.
Absolutely. So he was, the phrase is often overused, but he was absolutely a gentleman. He did everything with great grace, with great care. He was unbelievably thoughtful all the time. So he was due to do a book launch in Cape Town. So even from his hospital bed, he was calling people to apologize that he wouldn't be there, to make sure that still went ahead. He was a very unlikely activist in many ways because he was a quiet man, and if you passed him in the streets, you almost wouldn't notice him. In fact, a famous story is told soon after the Dennis Hurley Centre opened. An employee was here who didn't realise who Paddy Kearney was, saw him in his slightly dishevelled clothes and his scraggly beard and carrying his plastic bags, and ushered him into the kitchen where we were serving lunch for the homeless guys because she thought he was a homeless man too. And actually, Paddy was hugely amused by that. He said it was a great honour to be regarded as a homeless person, and very much saw the funny side of that. He had a very quiet voice. He very rarely raised. In fact, I don't recall him ever raising his voice about anything. Not that he didn't get impassioned or angry, but he expressed it in a very different way. But he also had the most extraordinary ability to get people to do stuff, and that's the mark of any good activist. Not just to raise your voice or make the point, but actually to get people to listen and to change. I discovered when I came to Durban, it was very much because of Paddy, and I discovered that you've been paddied. It turns out to be a very common trait within Durban. So many people said, oh yes, I was also paddied, meaning that he persuaded them to do something that they didn't realise they wanted to do, and then afterwards were very grateful that he did.
Well, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Raymond Perrier, who is the director of Dennis Hurley Centre, of course, on the passing of Father Paddy Kearney, just sharing some of the memories and some of the light-hearted moments on that.